Dobar dan svim učenicima ekonomske škole Mirko Vešović iz Podgorice i njihovim roditeljima. Danas ćemo obrađivati lekciju u udžbeniku Fokus 4, strane 16 i 17. Cilj ovog časa jeste da razvijamo vještine čitanja i razumijevanja teksta. Ishod časa odnosi se na razumijevanje strukture teksta i upotrebu odgovarajućeg vokabulara. Welcome to your English virtual classroom. Please pay your full attention to the following statement. If you say it for me, if you draw it for me, all I learn is that you are better than me. I want you to think about this and share your opinion about the issue. You can create soundtrack and turn it in via Google Classroom. Please pay attention to these three illustrations. The first and second illustration represent the same form of teaching method. The last one is presented in handwriting and it contains vocabulary related to food. The words are listed below, one after another. Each word is translated into your native language. Try to compare the first two illustrations to the last one. What is the difference? Do they inspire you in the same way? How are the teaching or perhaps the learning methods different? Well, I will tell you. The first and the second illustration, they are both colorful, joyful, and they easily catch the attention of the learners. Even the teachers like them better. The third picture says, you are going to learn something you find very boring and something you don't want to learn. Well, dear students, our topic for today is minimally invasive education. Do you know what is it? What is minimally invasive education? It's a method that uses the learning environment to generate an adequate level of motivation to induce learning in groups of children with minimal or no intervention by a teacher. Let's simplify. Minimally invasive education relates to the capacity of today's young generation to adapt, for example, computer literacy or maybe English spoken skills in a natural way and in a natural environment. This diagram shows how some researchers present the values of minimally invasive education. So they actually highlighted the following areas. The first, joy of learning, then inclusive experiences, because they do believe that minimally invasive education actually builds deep foundations and establishes deep values. At this stage, we need your friend's help. Actually, Ksenia will present you this topic in a funnier way. She has already prepared some memes for you.
Hello everyone. This is what our teacher has on his mind when he's meeting our parents but never says. Dear parents, if you promise not to believe everything your child says happen at school, I'll promise not to believe everything he says happen at home. Now you can see how it looks like when our teacher finds difficult to analyze our handwriting, an ideal career opinion. But how it looks like when our teacher finds out that his worst behaved student has 3 younger siblings. Let's see how students think. When you look up at the clock in class and realize that there's only 5 minutes have passed since the lesson began. I feel you, bro. This is our reaction when our favorite teacher shouts at us for the first time. We are bursting in tears. And this is face of our teacher when we tell him that we forgot our homework at home.
Thank you, Ksenia, for your presentation. It was a really great warm-up activity. Dear students, would you please read the text quickly and try to memorize the most important information only. The purpose is just to scan the text and look for the most important information, which means to elicit the main ideas from the text. After the quick reading, you should know how to answer the questions from textbook. Exercise number 2. Let's read the questions. The first question. What 2 experiments did Dr. Sugata Maitra set up in India and why? The second question. How did technology help Indian children learn? I hope that you are successful in providing answers, but let's check how Vuk did it.
Sugata Maitra set up the projects Skype Granny and Hole in the Wall to help out the Indian children in their studies. The technology helped the children learn English and other subjects with their own imagination without the help of any teachers.
The title of the text we are going to follow now is Lighting Spark of Learning. As you are expecting, I invited your friends not only to read the paragraphs, but also to provide their answers to the exercise number 3. You would be able to check your pronunciation and choose from the sentences A to E, the one which fits each gap. As we usually may expect in a gapped text exercise, there is always one extra sentence. So actually we do not need one of those sentences in the exercise. Maida, Anastasia, Melissa and Amanda will help you with your reading exercise today, so please follow up.
Dr. Sugata Maitra, Professor of Educational Technology at Newcastle University, England, thinks it's time for a radical shake-up of education. He believes that the present education system is outdated because it doesn't prepare children for the jobs of the future, which have changed thanks to technology. Dr. Mitra calls this methodology minimally invasive education and explains that it is based on the idea of using children's natural curiosity and then providing an environment where they can learn on their own. The answer is B. For many years, he has been interested in a form of learning in which children are unsupervised and involved in self-learning and peer teaching.
In 1999, he decided to test his ideas and set up an experiment, now known as the hole-in-the-wall experiment, with children living in slums who didn't have access to good teachers. At the time, he was working in New Delhi, and his place of work shared a wall with a slum. He cut a hole in the wall between his work premises and the adjoining slum and placed a computer with internet access in a kiosk where children could use it freely. He then repeated the hole-in-the-wall experiment in a village with no internet access. This time he left the computer in a kiosk with just a few CDs in English, and when he went back after 2 months, the children surprised him by asking in English for a faster processor and a better mouse. When he asked how they knew all this, they said that they taught themselves some English so that they could understand the machine that only talked in English. The missing sentence from this paragraph is sentence E. He then left them to use it unsupervised and found that after only a month, the children had taught themselves how to use the computer and go online. How do we know that this is the missing sentence? Well, we can see that he talks about wanting to teach children about using a computer and leaving one in a kiosk so that they could use it freely.
The project was so successful that it became the inspiration for the hugely successful film Slumdog Millionaire. The film was based on a book entitled Q&A by Rika Swarup. Swarup said that his book was inspired by the hole-in-the-wall experiment. He said, "I realized that there's an innate ability in everyone to do something extraordinary, provided they are given an opportunity." In 2010, Dr. Mitra initiated the project for children in India, this time using Skype connection. Mitra explains, "When I last visited India, I asked the children what they would like to use Skype for most, and surprisingly, they said they wanted British grandmothers to read them fairy tales. Dr. Mitra recruited a British woman to spend a few hours a week reading to the children and set up webcams so that a life-size image of the storyteller is projected onto a wall in India. He now has 200 volunteers reading to the children via Skype. He also has retired teachers and educators regularly teaching slum children in India by Skype. Hundreds of children in India are now learning from Skype grannies. But Dr. Mitra's plan is to create a school in the cloud, using retired teachers as a resource for children all around the world to tap into. So in this paragraph, we have gap 3, and the sentence which fits into this gap is sentence A. The children are forming relationships with them, and the teachers, many of whom were upset at the thought of having finished their careers, have realized they are more important than ever, he says. Maybe you're asking, why does this sentence fits into this gap? So, the sentence talks about children forming relationships with their volunteers and the teachers realizing how important their role is. So the sentence before this gap talks about the retiring teachers, and the sentence following talks about a plan to create a school in the cloud using those retired teachers.
In 2013, Dr. Sugata Mitra was the winner of the $1 million TED Prize for his revolutionary work with Indian children and for showing the power of minimally invasive education. Dr. Mitra believes that technology should be seen not as a threat to teachers, but as an asset. Computers cannot replace good teachers, but they can get a high standard of education into the schools where they are needed most, he says. With the prize money, he will continue to fulfill his wish of building a school in the cloud where children can find information and learn from one another. There is one extra sentence, and it's second one. B. For many years, he has been interested in a form of learning in which children are unsupervised and involved in self-learning and peer teaching, which is not true because he believes that the present education system is outdated because it doesn't prepare children for the jobs of the future and thanks to technology that have changed. And also he wants to build a school in the cloud where children can find information and learn from one another.
Thank you, girls, very much. When it comes to the vocabulary today, I will explain some common phrases, collocations, and word formation. Please write down in your notebooks anything you find useful and important. Let's start with the word date. What are the most common collocations that include the word date? Look at those examples. Blind date. It's a romantic social meeting between two people who have never met before. Has anyone been on the blind date? It's very risky and very dangerous, I would say. We mentioned this when we were talking about catfishing. Do you remember? Okay, expiration date, expiry date. It's actually the last date on which product or service can be used. Probably your moms warn you to be careful about the expiration date, especially when it concerns food. Due date is the date by which something has to be done or paid. We are all under the high pressure when it comes to any sort of deadlines or due date. Now, date line, an imaginary line on the map of the Earth that goes from the North Pole to the South Pole. To the east of this line, the date is 1 day earlier than to the west of it. That's why we all have to be careful when texting our friends from different time zones. Out of date refers to the clothes or colors which are old and not fashionable. I'm sure that you are all negative about out-of-date clothes, which means that you prefer fancy outfit. Now, outdated is a little bit different. Let's say out of date and outdated they are maybe slightly different in meaning, because outdated means old-fashioned and therefore not as good or as fashionable as something modern, like for example, while we speak about outdated technique or ideas. You all know the meaning of the following word, but be careful about the singular and the plural forms. We say datum to refer to a single piece of information, and the data is actually the plural form of this noun. If you pay attention to the following word, I'm pretty sure you will recognize it and you will know everything about its meaning. But I'm interested in an old saying, curiosity killed the cat. Would you please let me know how you understand its meaning? Learning languages takes a lot of fun when it comes to the idioms. You recognize the variety of idioms not only in English but also in your mother tongue. Join the club. This is the idiom we use in our language also. The adjective initial can be used in phrases like, for example, initial price, or in a phrase, initial offer. Initial price is the first amount of money that a person or company offers in their attempt to buy a property, another company, etc. Now we are going to provide synonym collocations, and in vocabulary section this is actually very important practice. If you listen carefully, you will be able to complete the word store at the end of your textbook. Please pay attention. Another phrase for a radical reorganization is shake up. An adjective natural is the same as an adjective innate in a phrase innate ability. An excellent standard is a high standard. To plan, we say to plan, or to set up an experiment, for example. To establish means to form a relationship, for example. Here we have come to the type of exercise that you usually don't like in your tests. Word formation. The easiest way to practice this type of exercise is to draw the table and to classify words. So I highly recommend you to do this frequently, or maybe if it is easier for you, you can do it on your PC. It would be more entertaining for you. Now, let's look at those examples. If the noun is curiosity, what are the other forms? So we have here an adjective and an adverb. An adjective form is curious, and we mentioned it before, and curiously is an adverb form. The next question. If the noun is inspiration, then you easily recognize the verb form. It is inspire. And an adjective is inspiring. Please pay attention to an adjective adjoining. It means touching or bounding at a point or line and belongs to the same group of words like noun, join, and the verb join. But let's ask Amanda how she solved the sentences in the exercise number 4.
Complete the sentences with the correct form of the words in capitals, then check your answers in the article. Number 1. Dr. Shugata Myra thinks the current education system is outdated and not fit for purpose. Number 2. Using a child's natural curiosity is at the heart of Mitra's ideas. Number 3. He put a computer in a hole in the wall between his work premises and an adjoining slum. Number 4. The experiment became the inspiration for a very successful film. Number 5. In 2010, Mitra initiated a new project for Indian children involving Skype. Number 6. Surprisingly, the children wanted to listen to British grandmothers reading them fairy tales. Number 7. There are now 200 volunteers reading to Indian children via Skype. And number 8. Mitra has won a prize for the project he calls Minimally Invasive Education.
Thank you, Amanda. Now, we'll see what your classmates think about how education will look like in the near future. The predictions about 2025 will be made by Mattia, Igor, and Melissa. I will be there to ask them some questions. And you can follow in your textbooks exercise number 5.
So I'm going to talk about what could possibly change in next 5 years in education. So what about homework and tests? We are currently in a quarantine and this quarantine is giving us a peak of a new era that we are going into. It's 5 years. It doesn't seem much, but it is. We are doing our tests online, we are studying online, we are giving our homeworks online. I hope it will not change, like drastic change, but I like the way this is. We have teachers, we have people in one room. Doing everything from your home on your computer isn't quite as good as you are in a classroom. So that's just my opinion.
We're going to talk about education system in 2025. First of all, I'm going to tell you my opinion on computer and language labs. I think there will be more computer labs and less language labs. For language labs, every student needs to own a computer and additional equipment like headphones and similar stuff. But that is demanding. It is easier to use computer labs because they can offer us more than regular classrooms and more than language labs. It is beneficial both for students and teachers. In this way, students will be more educated.
Okay, I'm going to talk about usage of Wi-Fi in 2025. In my opinion, we are going to use Wi-Fi in 2025 a lot of more than we used to use now. If we compare like 10 years ago and now, it's such a big difference between those two. And it's much easier to use Wi-Fi for finding information, pictures, videos, than it just, sliding pages of the book and try to find something. It's much faster and efficient if we compare, finding information in book and on Wi-Fi. Even if we're using like Google, Mozilla and like that to search something, it's going to just in 1 second find a lot of more things. But I think there is one problem with that, because now if we use Wi-Fi, it's easy to find informations, but it's hard to find true information, which is valuable. So that's some kind of bad side of using Wi-Fi, but it's always better because, it's a lot of faster, easier, and everything. So yeah, that's my opinion.
The contradictory fact is that I proved myself as a truly invasive teacher, talking about minimally invasive education during this presentation. Okay, I know you agree with me. Now, you are assigned the homework, except for the soundtrack I requested at the beginning of this presentation. I would like you to do the word store 1F at the bottom of the page 16, and also to listen to the song Another Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd. All your homeworks should be turned in to your teacher via Google Classroom. I hope you find this presentation useful. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.